In last week's Torah portion, the portion of Yitro, the people of Israel stood together, united as one man, at the foot of Mount Sinai and experienced the revelation and the giving of the Torah and the Ten Commandments. And it was an experience which was above time and space. They experienced synesthesia. The verse tells us that the entire nation saw the sounds. The experience transcended any personal idiom, and it connected them with the universal theme of the timelessness of the Creator as being the only constant reality. In this week's Torah portion, the portion of Mishpatim, literally the laws, beginning with Exodus 21, we find the vast majority of the Torah's mitzvot, commandments, are contained in this particular portion. And as opposed to many of the Torah portions, this one does not begin with the words, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying." And in that way, this is really an exception. This Torah portion begins with the words, "And these are the laws, the statutes which you shall place before them." So first of all, on one level, this is because here the communication is direct and equal to everyone. Here, the laws were not given through Moses and then bequeathed to Israel, but every person is equal in the eyes of God, and every person stands together and receives these laws together. But the interesting idea is that in last week's Torah portion, the experience was so ethereal, so otherworldly. It was a combination of, it was almost like a meeting of heaven and earth. We stood at Mount Sinai and perceived with our physical senses the reality of the one true living God. And in fact, the experience surpassed our senses. The senses blended together. It was an experience that turned the physical into spiritual. But in a way, here in Exodus 21, we start reading about all of these laws, and we're back on the ground, very well rooted in the ground, because these laws deal with all sorts of situations. Indeed, with every type of situation. They deal with society, many of them. They deal with relationships, with family, with personal and community responsibility, laws of damages, laws pertaining to our relationship to the land. And really, what are the laws of the Torah? Because people have a very, I think, mistaken idea about the concept of God's commandments. When we live according to the will of Hashem, when we follow the divine plan, when we follow these laws, we are not limited. They are not laws that bind us, as some people think, and hold us back. They are truly liberating, because what they are, really, and here let's try a new definition of the concept of mitzvah, of God's commandments. They are basically divine guidelines. They are simply advice that God gives us, conduits with which to bring in to our lives the influx of divine blessing. That if we follow these guidelines, we can be uplifted, and indeed, in turn, uplift each other and the entire world at the same time. And really, getting back to, again, last week's portion, the Torah portion of Yitro, when we stood at Mount Sinai and experienced that revelation, those first two commandments that we heard directly from the mouth of God, "I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods before me," really, that is the substance of reality. That there is nothing in this world true and lasting but the presence of God. And everything else is really just commentary. And the purpose of the commandments and all of the mitzvot, all of the statutes that we learn about in this week's Torah portion, is to give us the opportunity to elevate every aspect of our existence to a sense of living for God, of finding Him in everything, of walking with Him in this world. And thus, these commandments truly are just kind of like garments to hold the massive divine light of, "I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods before me." And these laws, again, agricultural, societal, laws of responsibility, even laws of damages, They're all about the fact that Sinai was beautiful, and it was an experience that just kind of broke the bank of our senses, and we were on an exalted level of consciousness. But the real high and the real spiritual experience is actually when we live as we are in the physical world, with responsibility towards each other and towards our community and towards the world, because that's really being connected to God when we can do it in this world on a truly physical level as well.